It's important to let the whole world know that there are many Israelis who are opposed to war and occupation. I actually teach the Diploma of Community Development and Welfare at Chisholm in Melbourne. But my other life is a peace activist, and I've been a peace activist for over 20 years in Israel, Palestine. One of the founders of Women in Black, which we started in Haifa as a silent vigil, opposed to the occupation and pro-discussion. It's since the late 80s, it's now spread to over 200 countries around the world. Each country and each vigil adopts the politics of their particular country. The ideology is basically empowerment, but also looking after women's rights. Women's issues don't get taken into account when we're looking at human rights. There was an example of, at some of the checkpoints, women can't get to the hospitals, and so some women have died giving birth at the checkpoints. Their babies have died whilst they've been forced to give birth at checkpoints. And for me, that says that's not just a crime against the Palestinian woman, that's a crime against all women, and it's a crime against humanity. It's also a crime against the Israeli soldier from the perspective of the Israeli government has taken this person who was born not a racist and actually separated them from their emotions to such an extent that they don't even care that a woman is giving birth. And to me, that's sacred. As a society, we're in crisis, and Israel is in crisis. If we look at the population of the world, half is women, and within that context, you've got 1 out of 3 women, statistically out of the UN, being assaulted by someone they know between the time they're born and the time they die. Now, that's statistically incredibly high. So I think that what I learnt working in women's shelters, both in Israel and in Australia, is that the women who are survivors of domestic violence are actually the leaders in showing us how we can work towards reconciliation. And I think that that ties into my work as a feminist and in the women's peace movement in relation to when the Palestinians are being demonised by Israelis. And, I'm told all the time, well, you can't trust them, they're suicide bombers, they train their kids to kill us. I try and engage in a conversation to break down the fear. It doesn't always work, it is very difficult, but it's about trying to make a rational statement out of the fear of being wounded. And I guess that I think women are the answer.